So folks, set up your phasers to cautiously hopeful and engage. Let's talk about Paramount Skydance merger. It's official. As of July 24th, with the FCC's final approval, David Ellison and Skydance Media now have full executive and creative control over Paramount Global. That means CBS, Paramount Pictures, and yes, most relevant to me, Star Trek. Now, I've seen a lot of takes about this. On one end, you got people predicting Trek's glorious rebirth. On the other, folks are already preparing for a eulogy. But here, I'm going to take a moment, breathe, and look at this like, an adult. Now, before we start this episode, there's going to be a short disclaimer. When it comes to this particular merger, there's been a lot of chatter related to political issues in US. There's a reason I generally avoid talking politics on this channel. First of all, I'm not a US citizen. And honestly, I think that political hot takes, especially short ones, tend to fry our collective brain cells. So I'm not getting into that side of it. This is about Trek and what the business shift could mean for the franchise we all care about. So let's break it down. First, let's talk about some facts. Skydance now controls the new ship. David Ellison is at the helm. The merger was valued at around $8 billion. And it gives Skydance complete control over the Paramount family. And yes, of course, that includes Trek. But let's be clear, Trek is coming into this merger at a very transitional moment. Strange New Worlds is ending with Season 5, Starfleet Academy is in post, the Section 31 movie with Michelle Yeoh dropped to, well, if you want to be generous, mixed reviews. And Star Trek Legacy, the show the fans are particularly begging for, is still nowhere to be seen. Skydance isn't just inheriting a brand, they're inheriting a franchise in flux. So what kind of a captain is David Ellison going to be for this ship? Let's take a look at the course he's charted before. David Ellison hasn't made any public statements about Star Trek specifically, but his history at Skydance can give us some clues. This is a guy who is very IP driven. Skydance has built itself around massive franchises like Top Gun, Mission Impossible, Terminator. He's also shown a willingness to revitalize things people thought were honestly creatively dead. Top Gun Maverick wasn't just a sequel, it was a resurrection. And Ellison helped make that happen by bringing in the right people, respecting the core of the original, and pushing the envelope just enough. And let's keep it clear, it was fun. It was a really fun movie. So from a track record perspective, honestly, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not someone who jumps to conclusions. I've been around long enough to know that good intentions and good outcomes aren't always the same. But it seems like this guy knows how to steer big legacy franchises. That's not nothing. Now, let's talk brass tacks. If the course is changing, who gets to set the new heading? The first thing that might shift is obviously leadership. Right now, Trek's direction is still tied to Secret Hideout and Alex Kurtzman. But with a new owner comes the potential for a new structure. And let's just say I wouldn't be shocked if that agreement doesn't get renewed. This is not based on any insider information. I don't have any, and I don't plan to try to get some. Just the internet rumor mill, fan reactions, and the lukewarm reception of the Section 31 movie. But based on that, I wouldn't bet Secret Hideout sticking around. Could I be wrong? Absolutely, but the odds seem to be shifting. Now, if that happens, the next question becomes, what does Trek look like under a new creative regime? Here's what I'd expect, or at least hope for. A clearer long-term strategy, more in line with what Marvel or DC are now attempting to do. Fewer segmented timelines. Trek right now is spread thin. We have multiple shows, multiple crews, all with different vibes, different timelines, different realities. I don't even know. I can't... Look, I've been watching this for like 90% of my life, and I can't figure out what's where, how, and when. And yes, maybe, finally, a greenlit for Star Trek Legacy. Because that show is honestly a low-hanging fruit. Fans want it, the actors are game, the setup is already baked into Picard Season 3. But, and there's always a but, especially when you talk about entertainment news, before we get too excited about Legacy, there's a big warp core-sized complication we really need to talk about. Let's not pretend that Star Trek Legacy is clean handoff. It's not. If Secret Hideout's current contract isn't renewed, which again, I don't think it will be, it's still not as simple as just picking up where Picard left off. Here's why. Many of the characters are tied to Legacy, are legally structurally connected to Picard, and Picard is a Secret Hideout production. That means there are IP and rights complications. You can't just lift characters wholesale without navigating who owns what. This is one of the big critiques I actually have for Secret Hideout. They have shown that in a couple of situations, they don't mind just lifting somebody else's character and creation and just taking it on his own. Now, what characters are we actually talking about? We're talking about Jack Crusher, newly minted Picard's son, Sidney LaForge, which was Geordi's daughter. We also, of course, have Raffi, who was played by Michelle Hurd and originally was introduced all the way in Picard Season 1 and was slated to be the first officer in Legacy. Most of the Picard Season 3 bridge crew, possibly even elements of the new Enterprise G design. So these are not pure Legacy characters, they are part of Secret Hideout's Trek era. So if Skydance wants to move forward without that team, they might need to negotiate limited rights access or rework the entire setup. And that gives us kind of three paths forward. The first path is that Legacy gets scrapped entirely. Cold, clean cut, move on with different concept. The second path is limited contract extension. Now Skydance can work with Secret Hideout just for Legacy, maybe handing off the show once it's launched. And number three is something akin to spiritual successor. A new show that is inspired by Legacy, maybe with Captain 709, but with a totally new crew and a retooled premise. Now personally, I know a lot of fans want Terry Matalas to run it. Here's my take, I'm not sold. Yes, I enjoyed most of the Picard Season 3, but let's not forget, this is also the guy who was behind Season 2, and that season was... rough would actually be a compliment for that season. It was almost unwatchable. We're talking a transporter malfunction combined with holodeck trying to kill you rough. That kind of rough. So if it were up to me, I probably would launch a new show inspired by Legacy, but with a new team, a clear creative vision, and a roadmap that isn't tethered to the past, either legally or narratively. All of which lead us to the real question. Will Skydance treat Trek like it matters? Now here's the real fork in the road. Does Skydance see Star Trek as a flagship franchise or just a niche IP? Because if they treat Trek like the cornerstone brand, we could see a renaissance. New shows with strong visual identity, big theatrical ambitions, stories that honor Legacy while pushing forward. But if they see it as a small vocal fan base, then we're in for more one-off projects, more cautious budgets, and slower fade into streaming limbo. And frankly, that's not what Trek deserves. It isn't niche. Trek, at least in my opinion, is foundational sci-fi. It's inspired scientists, engineers, dreamers. It survived syndications, cancellations, and awkward Enterprise theme songs. I think it'll survive this too, but it really needs some vision. So, where do I stand on this? Look, I care about this franchise deeply, and I do want to see it grow. But not at the cost of its soul. Not at the cost of forgetting what made it great in the first place. Honestly, I don't think this merger is going to be the death of Trek. But I also don't think it's automatically the rebirth we all are hoping for. It's a moment. It's a pivotal moment. And what happens next depends on who they choose to guide the next chapter and where they understand that Trek isn't just a brand. It's kind of a beacon. So, I'll be watching. I'm hopeful. But until we actually hear from the new leadership and maybe Alice himself, I'm not gonna make any snap decisions. And that's it. So until the next transmission, stay curious like you, honorable like a Klingon, logical like a Vulcan, and never stop looking at the stars. Because we're Trekkies, and that's what we do.